Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Very nice to see that many of you are still here. So my name is Zeph van Berlo. I am an assistant professor at the Amsterdam School of Communication Research. So I'm not a psychologist. I'm a communication scholar. But today I'm going to talk to you about virtual reality and how virtual reality can help work towards a more sustainable future. I'm going to talk about a couple key mechanisms, and then I will also discuss some examples of research that I've been involved in. Let's see if this is working. Yes, so on this topic, I would like to start with a shout out to a lot of the co-authors of the project. Yeah, without them, this presentation wouldn't have happened. So today I will start a little bit about talking about like why do we actually need immersive interventions like VR interventions for sustainability. And then I will talk more about those the mechanisms. Then, if there's time, which probably there isn't, but we'll see. We'll talk. I'll talk a bit about the future, the things that yeah to look out for. So, well, why do we need immersive interventions? I think to answer this question, I would like to start to take a look at the problem, or maybe it's more problems, which are these environmental challenges like climate change or pollution, biodiversity loss, but also in the previous presentation, energy transition. So these are all very large problems. And as was also mentioned in the previous presentation, it's not that people are not motivated to do anything about it. It's actually, I'm not the only one that says that these are important problems, right? In 2022, they asked a representative sample of Dutch people, and they found that 66% of Dutch people believed that environmental problems were globally the most important challenge. It was a little bit different time back then, but still, it's a very important problem. So many people they talk the talk, right? They say, yeah, it's super important, but they don't walk the walk. And why is that? Well, we heard some things in the previous presentation. I think also one of the reasons why it's difficult for people to act sustainably, it's because many of these environmental challenges in nature, they are distant problems. They are abstract to people, which makes it very difficult for them to act on it. So this can be explained by a theory which is called construal level theory, and which I won't go into a lot of detail on this theory because then we're here tomorrow still. But the main idea is that events can be psychologically distant from yourself, and that this distance has an effect on how concrete you think these events are, and also how relevant you think they are. So this distance can be really in terms of spatial distance. So this can be an event that is at the other side of the world, right? Which is very far spatially. But it could also be temporal, so in time. So climate change and the consequence of climate change, even though we see more and more consequences right now, many of the consequences or the harsher consequences are in the future, right? Which again makes it difficult for us to act on it. And another dimension is social distance. So many of the consequences of pollution and climate change right now, they happen far away to people that are socially distant from us, that are in different cultures, and also that makes it more difficult to act. I think also to demonstrate, if I talk you or ask you to think of a relevant flooding in 2021, most of you probably immediately think of the floodings here in Limburg, maybe think of the floodings in Germany, Belgium, but I don't think many of you immediately thought, oh yeah, there were a lot of floodings in southern India, for example. So this, demonstration of how the psychological distance affect how relevant a particular topic is to us. So I've already spoke quite a lot, but I haven't mentioned virtual reality yet. So this is where virtual reality comes in, because VR, more so than other media, has the ability to fully immerse people into an experience, and really allows you to experience something as if you're experiencing this in real life. So who of you has experience with virtual reality, like has ever been in virtual reality? Most of you, okay. And who of you has no experience? Okay, still some, okay. Well, so then for those of you who have no experience with it, virtual reality is basically a virtual, artificial, viewer-centered experience where you, while using we call them a head-mounted display, you see them in the image, it's like a little box you put on your eyes, and you're basically completely disconnected from your immediate environment, and you're now in a virtual environment. And because of this, there's a couple things going on. I will get to this in a second. But I think the key benefits of this medium is that on the one hand, it can bring a person closer to an event, right? Because it can, if I put on the VR headset, I can be at a glacier that is melting, right? Which would be very inconvenient for me to go there and fly there. Also, I mean, I guess the costs to the climate would be huge. And it also can give you a more vivid experience than, for example, watching a video or reading about something. So there's basically two main mechanisms, at least that I will talk about today, that can explain why VR can be a powerful tool. And it's basically two illusions. So what VR does, it tricks your mind, it tricks your brain into basically thinking that the experience you're having is real. And the first one I will call the I'm there illusion, which in the literature it's called spatial presence, which basically means that you have the feeling that you're actually physically present in that virtual environment. I think those of you who have tried virtual reality might remember that experience, especially if you were able to also move around and interact with objects, that can really heighten this feeling. So your mind thinks that that what you see is real, and it doesn't have to look super real. As you will also see in a minute, I have some examples, but many of you have experience with VR. Many VR experiences still look a bit like you're in like an 80s computer game, which is fine. This illusion works as long as what you see is consistent, and especially it needs to follow your movements quickly, because if it doesn't, you get sick, and then VR is really not a nice experience. So that's the first illusion. I think for me, one example, I started with VR research in 2017 or 18, and one of the first studies I did, I let people puzzle with chocolate, which it's not relevant for this talk, but they were puzzling. It was like a tangram puzzle in VR, and they were basically doing this puzzle on a table. And multiple times, when they were done, after like 5 minutes of puzzling, participants put the remote on the virtual table, which there was no table, but they were so immersed in this experience that once they were done, like, okay, I'm done, and they put the table down, and I had to jump multiple times to catch the controller. And also that table, it didn't look real. Like if I would show you a picture of it, you think, okay, it's a super ugly table, but you're in the experience, and you have the illusion that it's real. So that's one mechanism. The other one, it's the this is my body illusion, and it's a little bit more abstract, but basically, and in the literature it's called embodiment, and basically means that you start to believe that the body you are embodying, so the body you have in the virtual space, that is your body. So if you see arms, you think, oh, these are my arms. If you can see yourself in a mirror, you start to think or act more like that is you. So there have been studies where people were embodying superheroes, for example, and they were shown to score higher on exams afterwards because they had had a higher maybe blank on the word. They thought they were better, and they actually started to do better. They believed more in themselves because they embodied being a superhero, right? So these are the two main illusions. And then to illustrate this a little bit, I will talk about some of the studies I did. So first is I am there illusion. This is the one I tend to work with the most. And this is about bringing these psychologically distant events closer. And one of the ways you can do that, well, you can like transport someone to somewhere else on the world. But I mean, in VR you can do anything. We used it to function as a time machine. So what we wanted to do is actually that we wanted to reduce the temporal distance between someone's behavior and the consequences of their behavior. So they didn't have to wait a year, for example, what the consequence would be of their actions now. So the context of this study was plastic consumption reduction. We started this study 2019, I think, which was highly delayed due to COVID, but okay. And basically, the idea is that we wanted to link or close the gap between people's shopping behavior and of buying plastic products, of products in plastic, and then the consequence of that, which is pollution, right? So before I continue talking about the study a bit more, I will show you a brief video, which was a promotion video we made, but in it you will see a little bit of the experience, and you will see some responses of participants people that participated. And afterwards, I will explain to you what you saw, and then get into more detail. Hopefully this works. Yes. Okay, then I'll just. Well, so basically, well, what you saw was a little bit of the experience and some responses. So in short, the experience, you saw this at the start. People started in a room. There is an AI. I mean, this was way before ChatGPT. I think now the voices would be a little bit better, but this is what we could do back then. So this was an AI, which was also a time machine. So as AI time machines do, right? They say, hey, we checked you're out of groceries. But what you could do is actually order a grocery. We go back in time, you order groceries for today, and then they will arrive. So let's do this. So yeah, you go a week back in time. You have this. You saw this circle, right? I think I have it here. Yeah, this circle, which was this shopping experience moment. So there, people were told that they had to shop products that they would usually also pick, right? And then they were going to go back to the present. But obviously, something goes wrong. So instead of 1 week in the future, they go 1 year in the future. And when they then step out, the entire room is filled with plastic garbage from their shopping. So it basically multiplied their shopping in a year. They will go into the middle of the room, and then they're basically, imagine to be in a room filled with plastic up to your waist. So it's really designed to also give you sort of this unheimlich feeling, sort of. And you could see the products that you picked as well in the garbage. So I'm already sort of in these key moments, but so then let's go to this one. So then we were interested also to see whether being able to then interact with your choice, so sort of to make things right, whether that could help. So from there onward, where people were exposed to their garbage, half of the participants, they stopped. This was their condition, right? The other condition had an extra, let's call it a self-efficacy prompt, like a learning experience, where they could switch out products. They grabbed the apples in a plastic bag. Now they could go for the apples in a paper bag, right? Or they picked oil in a plastic bottle. They could have oil in a glass bottle, things like that. So in this experience, there were two key moments, right, that we wanted to link. So this purchase behavior and these consequences. And basically, we found that this was actually quite effective. So we found that this interacting with the consequences had a effect on intentions. And this was mediated by self-efficacy. So because the idea is that because they practiced, people had higher self-efficacy. So they believed they were better able to deal with this problem, right? And we also found, and we didn't find that this interacting with the consequences had an effect on behavior per se, but we did see that anyone who participated, because we had a pre-post test design, so anyone who participated reduced their plastic consumption in the weeks following the experience. So we didn't see a difference here anymore with whether or not they interacted with the consequence or not. But still, I think it was a very positive find. 5 minutes, perfect. So then I will only briefly touch upon this one, so I can still talk a little bit about the other mechanism. So there's another project that we recently ran, which is called Klimaatscholenproject, which is Dutch for Climate Schools Project, in which we designed a VR experience to teach children, high school children, teenagers between the link about the link between their diet and climate change and biodiversity loss. We sort of stepped up our development game, and we really used like motion capture together with the visualization lab at our university to create an avatar that was really based on a human, on a colleague. If you want to know more about this, I can talk a little bit more about it when there's a question. Because I also wanted to talk about this other illusion, which is the embodiment illusion, so that you have the feeling that you're really that the body you have in the experience is yours. So what we did here is that we took a VR experience, award-winning VR experience, which is called Tree. Does anyone know this experience? No, so it's basically an experience where you embody a tree. So you start off as a seedling, and then you grow and you grow, and then you get branches, and then you get bigger and bigger until you basically can look out across the entire rainforest. And then something happens, obviously. So what we did before spoiling the end, which I will do in a second, but what we did is we wanted to make this experience stronger. So this VR experience obviously had high quality visuals. It had high quality sound, which are two important factors that contribute to embodiment, but there's more factors. So these all have to do with your senses, right? So besides visuals and sound, we also wanted to include haptics, so touch, and we want to include olfactory senses, so scent, basically, right? So what we did, we started off by having we had basically an automatic scent diffuser, which you can also have in the bathroom, I guess, to spray rainforest smells every so often. So this experience people already smelled. It smelled like they were in a rainforest. There, I think we already did. We upped those simulation a bit. And then I mentioned that, in this experience, you grow, right, and you get branches. And then at one point, there's vines growing around your branches. And it was at this moment where the researcher in the lab would wrap a rope around your arm, right, where the vines would be. So that would also give this feeling of touch. And then sort of as a final way to really supercharge this sensory stimulation is that at the end of the experience, once you look out over the rainforest, it's dark, it's calm, it's night, but then in the distance you see a glow and you're like, oh, what is that? And the glow becomes brighter and brighter, and you start to hear animals screaming, and if you look down you can actually see animals running past you, and then you realize, oh shit, there's a fire coming, right? So what we did there is right at the moment where people realize, okay, there is a fire here, we also use smoke smell to really get their senses going, I guess. So from the research in the lab, we heard that people had actually very strong responses to this experience, which I guess was good. We wanted to see what it did with embodiment, what it also did with presence, and also what it did with nature connectedness, and ultimately for environmental behavior. And we basically found that this multi-sensory design actually had a strong effect on embodiment and also nature connectedness. So people felt more connected to nature, felt more connected to trees, and this led eventually also to more positive behavior as well. Yeah, I will wrap up. So as I already envisioned, no future. But yeah, there is a lot of cool stuff that still can be done, and that is being done. So to wrap up, well, hopefully I've given you a sort of a sneak peek in what is being done and what is possible with virtual reality. To answer the question which was sort of posed in the title, can VR help us envision a sustainable future? I think the answer is yes. For example, by being a time machine or a teleportation machine or something like that, and also by helping us like embody nature, also reduce environmental detachment, and yeah, eventually lead to more sustainable behaviors. Thank you.